All right, Jim. Well, here's some audio from the post-Forbidden Door media scrum.
Are we scrumming again?
We are.
You know, I like it. I like to just get in the car, get all dressed up, and go out scrumming.
Well, I'm looking through the notes here. We have a transcript of everything. I'm trying to find things to play. Hold on. There's a lot of transcript here.
a lot of transcript running through your mind right now.
All right, let's go. I'm going to try to find the timestamp here. We're going to go to a question being asked of John Moxley by a child reporter who's been in the room the whole day with all this cursing and everything going on.
What? A child reporter? What?
Yeah, apparently there's a kid who does something. I'm not going to put him down for this. There's nothing wrong with that. Who reports on wrestling.
Wait a minute. What was that word salad? There's apparently a kid that does something.
Because you immediately act like you're ready to put it down, the idea that they have a kid at this thing. Do you think it's inherently wrong?
Well, I can't see that. Is he 16 or is he fucking 5? I mean, there's
something.
There's grades there.
Yeah, there's stuff in between. But let's hear some audio. A question being asked of John Moxley out there with his bloody head and his belt, and Tony Khan as they both drink their non-alcoholic beer. Let's go to this question.
First off, my name's AJ from the AJ Awesome Show.
Yeah, you are.
With the Blackpool Combat Club having new member after new member like Wheeler Yuta and Claudio, how has it affected your career in a positive way or a negative way to have more people surrounding you?
Let me stop right there. A fine question.
I think they need to hire the kid to do the YouTube show. He sounds more manly than most of their fucking talent.
You know, they should have him replace Marvez.
He sounds more natural than our Officer Bar Brady.
And the wrestlers will seem like giants. Isn't that what you want?
Yeah.
Let's go to Moxley's answer about the Blackpool Combat Club.
Oh, it's the best thing, man. Like, that's another thing that's just like, this Blackpool Combat Club came together at just like this perfect time, and it's just so good for me, and like, it just fits so perfectly. And like, for instance, Claudio, I mean, it wasn't even a question of like he's basically already, because it's a real thing, you know, it's not this act we're putting on, you know, he's a real student of Regal, and he's a real training partner of mine, former training partner for years. We were in developmental together. We traveled together a lot. I said like, hey, you know, I said something once about like, hey, we gotta bleed together if you're gonna be on my team. I wrestled Claudio a million times. I have busted him open on multiple occasions. You can go back and watch that shit on Peacock. I knocked his fucking teeth right down his throat. He wore adult braces for 2 years, you know? So we've been there. We've been down the road together, you know? I mean, he's like legitimately like part of the group, and like to have that, like,
oh my God, can somebody shut him up?
Like,
why? What do you have against what he's saying here?
Would he get to a point? He's got a point there, but if he combs his hair right, nobody will notice it.
Well, so far, the point appears to be that he likes having these guys around him. The Blackpool Combat Club is good for him. He really is happy to do this, and it's real. Him and Claudio really are partners and students of Regal, so that's why it makes sense. Let's hear if maybe...
And also, he's revealed that he's such a polished worker that he knocked fucking Claudio's teeth out.
Well, maybe it'll all come together. Let's hear what he says.
I feel like right now is also like a jumping off point. Like this feels like the baseline I've been trying to get to, what I've been picturing in my mind for like 3 years. And it's all starting to kind of become a reality. And I'm like, man, this is like, so here's the baseline starting off point. Like, imagine how good we could get. And I'm surrounded by guys, you know, I love to train, I love to learn, I love to get better. Try stuff out. I love helping other guys too, you know, so I have Wheeler as like a young guy who's more talented than me to use my brain and experience and try to help him get better. And he's a great dude. Otherwise he wouldn't be in the group either. We don't let assholes in the group. And, to have a dude like that, to be able to help him, but also have him push me, because he's, you know, young and hungry and all that, but also like to have Regal, who doesn't let anything slide. If I talked to him after this match, he had like 2 or 3 little things that I could have done better, No congratulations or whatever. No, hey, way to win the belt. No, it was like, you could have done like 3 or 4 things. But I like that. I want, I get plenty of congratulations. I don't need that shit. I need help getting better.
Let me stop it there for a second. What do you think about what he's saying here?
I don't know what he's fucking saying. He's as goddamn exciting to listen to as he is to watch.
Well, Wheeler Yuta's a very talented guy with more talent than Moxley, and he's a good guy. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in the group. They don't allow assholes in the group. What do you think of that?
I can't argue with anybody being better than Moxley. I think they all are. And I'm happy that none of them are assholes. That both these things can be true. They cannot be assholes and be rotten wrestlers all at the same time.
And William Regal still critiquing and picking apart his matches, even when...
And boy, apparently he just ain't listening.
Well, let's hear what else he says here.
And so he doesn't let anything slide, and he keeps me sharp and helps me get better. And having Claudio and Brian, who are like 2 of the greatest, Brian, in my book, Bryan Danielson is the greatest. People say like Tanahashi's one of the greatest ever, and Jericho's the GOAT, and we say all this. Just for my money, in my opinion, the greatest professional wrestler to ever live, to ever do it in the ring is Bryan Danielson, and it's crazy because he's my partner. I get to like tag team with him, and also he's one of my favorite wrestlers ever. Like my legit. Like on my top list of like 2 or 3, 4, whatever, like he's in that group of like, my favorite wrestlers to watch ever. And it's almost like there's 2 different, there's like one of my favorite wrestlers to watch, Bryan Danielson, who's like right up there with my all-time favorites, like Bret Hart and stuff. And then there's like Brian, my friend, who's like all eco-friendly and shit, that, and he's like a good father and all this, and we have similar interests and we talk and whatever. That's almost like 2 separate people, and sometimes I gotta like pinch myself out there, like I get to team with one of my favorite wrestlers like of all time.
Let me stop it.
What time of day is that? They're after this 5-hour show and he's out there droning on about his Mutual Admiration Society. Now I understand that listening to him speak is as exciting as watching him wrestle.
Yeah, I'm not going to play any more Moxley audio, but
Please don't.
What do you think about the idea that Danielson's the greatest wrestler of all time?
Well, sooner or later, even a blind squirrel will find a nut. So sooner or later, Moxley actually says something that's remotely correct or plausible, or I would definitely think he's in a conversation. We've talked about it. He was doing great work until they fucking yanked him out of being a single and put him in with the goddamn plumber.
Well, Jim, here's some audio we have of FTR with Tony Khan. Dax,
hey, by the way, let's just bring this up again. Because we can't. Unfortunately, we don't have the video because you can't hear a hug. You got to see hugs. Tony Khan was hugging like crazy at this media thing, right? The pictures on Twitter are insane. He's holding on to people like you imagine that they held on to the fucking life preservers on the deck of the Titanic. He is holding on to people like one of them even said on Twitter, like a Make-A-Wish kid gets to meet his hero when he's hugging Claudio. He's just hugging and latching onto these guys like they've saved him from a burning building. And which one is it? Okada has the bleach blonde bouffant, or was that?
I wouldn't say he has a bouffant, but he has the bleach blonde hair.
He's a bleach blonde. Well, the point is you could tell him standing there going like, "My God, these crazy Americans! What the fuck's going on with this guy?" The Mad Hugger. I used to call him the Mad Hatter. Now he's the Mad Hugger.
It is something to see because, it's one thing, everyone gives each other a hug nowadays. But it is like he's holding on for dear life. And I'm not sure why or where that comes from. But, Jim, here's another question from the Media Scrum. To FTR, there's been a lot going on with FTR. Let's hear why they think it's happening right now.
Will Washington, Fightful.
Congrats.
Yes, thank you. It's great that you knew that. So, the last couple of weeks, this past Wednesday and tonight, you guys have received some of what I'd call the biggest pops you guys have ever had. And a big factor in that is, of course, you guys being one of the best tag teams out there. But
Rewind. Don't say one of. Come on. At least lie to us. We're right here in front of you.
The best. Okay.
Jeez.
But another factor in that has been the change in theme music, which I think last fall a lot of people were a little bit skeptical of, but I would say today, across the board, people have called one of the best themes out there. I've been crowds where I've seen people going nuts over it, dancing in the stands. How do you guys feel like the music has affected your guys' presentation, and how much do you guys love it?
Yeah, the only person we got to thank for that is Tony. I mean, that was his call, and he called us in his office, and he was so excited, man. He was like, you guys have to listen to this, and we listened to it, and I can't lie to you. At first, I was like, oh my God, that's not what we're used to. You know, we're used to being these badass guys who like come out and fight and stuff, but God dang. It sounds like I'm kissing his butt, and I promise I'm not.
This is the most that you've ever done it.
To your face, to your face. But that's the thing is like, what they don't understand, what no one understands is, God dang, like the word genius gets thrown around, but he really is freaking smart when it comes to wrestling.
Thanks, man.
I mean, in life in general, he's smart, but like, when
the first part means more coming from you. That means a lot coming from you, especially considering who I pulled the music from. He probably wouldn't be the first to say. I grew up on him.
That's his gimmick. But he really.
Let me stop it there for a second, because they're obviously referencing you. What are your thoughts on the early part of this?
Well, they're beating around the bush to talk about the music without coming out and saying what the music is. It's a revamp or reorchestration or rearrangement or whatever of the Midnight Express music, which, you know, kind of, Dax and Cash are both North Carolina guys that grew up with the NWA and love classic tag team wrestling. So that kind of fits them, and it's an homage, but you know, I would think they would have come out and say, yeah, it's a Midnight Express revamp, and that kind of puts us in the mood. You know, but they were beating around the bush a little bit about it, but it was the new music. But yeah, it you know, it's flattering in a way. They are the best tag team in the business now, so they should have Midnight Express worthy music.
Is Tony Khan a genius?
No. Come on. That's why he said, lie to us. We're sitting right here. That's what they're doing. Putting him over. He's the boss. He got him a nice, catchy tune. He may be a genius on statistics, or I don't know anything about football, so he could be a football genius. Other people that do know stuff about football say he's not, but what do I know? But wrestling genius? No, come on.
I think you could argue he's a genius maybe as a promoter, considering what he's done. But when it comes to booking, that's where people lose me when they say he's a booking genius. Being a promoter is one thing. Being a matchmaker is one thing. But actually, week to week, serious TV that makes sense, angles that make sense, things that go someplace and make sense, Tony Khan is not good at that. That's where you need someone to talk to him and help him. And when certain people aren't at TV, it's obvious because everything changes and it reverts back to Tony's instincts as opposed to things that may work to better an angle or furthering an angle or a series of angles.
And somebody remarked, and I'm trying to think now that we've played it a couple minutes ago, I can't remember the word for word, the exact transcript, but somebody said, what do you think about him saying that's your gimmick? That's the way people in the wrestling business talk. He's not saying, well, that's his gimmick. He's just putting all that on. He said, that's his gimmick. Cornette, cheeseburgers, that's his gimmick. He loves them. So everybody was like, oh, he's knocking Jim. No, he wasn't. He's saying it's my gimmick. That's what I do.
Well, let's just clear it up. When you say Tony Khan is not a wrestling genius, is that a gimmick? Are you lying to the listeners of this show?
No. Because it is not a lie, and anybody with half a fucking I hate to use the old line, Stevie Wonder could see it or Ray Charles could see it. Who's a famous blind person today? Jose Feliciano could see it. Anyway.
Today? Jose Feliciano?
Well, he's more recent than Ray Charles. Point is, no, Tony Khan is not a wrestling genius. And my gimmick is to fucking say things about people that are fucking fairly much true. That's why nobody else does it. Because they're afraid they won't get another job. I'm not looking for one, so I'm free of that burden.
Let's go back to some more of this audio from FTR and Tony Khan.
He is, man. I can think of tackle, drop down, leapfrog, and lock up and stuff like that. But he can think broader than that. And sometimes it makes me mad.
Wait, they still talking about Tony?
I'm supposed to be the...
They're still talking about Tony.
I didn't think he could get through tackle, drop down, leapfrog, much less to think broader.
Well, no, he's saying he thinks broader than that. I think that means he wouldn't focus on that part of it, but let's go back to this audio.
Smart, the professional.
Smart as hell.
Well, thank you. I'm supposed to be the professional, but then he takes it to another level. And so he played this music for us, and he was so hyped, and it was cool music, and I was like, I don't know if that's us, but I'll be damned if it's not us. And that, yeah, you're right. That has helped our I think our rainbow attire and like what we want to present out there. I think his mullet and my mustache, and then I also think I think the style of wrestling we bring to. I think it all just came together at once, and the universe provided it for us, and I think it's manifested itself into making us some pretty good baby faces.
And let me just say the one thing he's not saying there, and I understand why he can't. People got sick of the Young Bucks, and people got sick of what they assume the Young Bucks behind the scenes maneuvers are, and FTR had nothing but great matches, and they got aligned with CM Punk. That's the thing that no one wants to say, is that the Young Bucks parade has kind of ended, and there's less people in it than ever before.
I concur with that.
Let's go back to the audio.
I think 99% of it's just the two of you guys, and less than 1% of it is that, and another piece of it that is, 99% of it is down to the two of you, but one person, he's not here tonight, but I've seen you become a more confident and better wrestler since CM Punk walked through that door.
Yeah.
I've seen you both take it to another level as his partner and backstage and talking to him, and I've watched you get more switched on, and I've watched you take it from being one of the best wrestlers in the world to true, like on from the highest platform to somehow an even higher platform, and the two of you guys have taken it to another level. And particularly, I've watched you get mentally switched on in a totally different way. And Dan, you've always been there, and as a team, you've always been there. But now as you have a third guy with you,
television.
and it's something really strong. It would have been a very different build to this pay-per-view. We still had one of the greatest things I've ever been a part of in my life. But I think, like I said, 99% of it's down to you guys, and then there's all these other factors, music, and I think Phil has been a very positive influence on both of you.
He's called Punk by his real name, too, on television.
Well, not television, YouTube.
Well, whatever the fuck it is. In public, at a media thing, he's calling the guys by their real fucking names. When I know a lot of people on Twitter were going, well, could you see Vince McMahon doing this or Eric Bischoff doing this? When can you think of a wrestling promoter? I'm not talking about the fucking shyster outlaw mud show goofs these days. I'm talking about a legitimate wrestling promoter that ever did media where he hugged his wrestlers like they were his childhood puppy and called them by their real names. I've never heard of anything like that.
Another first for AEW, but let's go back to the audio.
Just to kind of sum it all up, is that there was nothing there wasn't a roadmap to how we were going to get here. We all just, Dave and I, Dax and I, David and I decided we wanted to just make as much fun as we could with the rest of what we're going to be doing, because we don't know how long we're going to be doing this. And that kind of started the snowball. And then just small things here and there. Punk's arrival, Tony having this idea to switch the music. And when I heard the music, I loved it, but I go straight to my mind and I'm like, how do I walk out to this? And I'm trying to picture it, and I'm like, it's great music, but I don't know how to be this. But you don't have to now. It's just kind of one of those things where you hit it, and everybody's kind of moves however they feel individually. And it's just been one of those things where everything just kind of fallen into place, and it's been so serendipitous that it's almost comical, but it has. It's peaked to right here. Like, this has kind of all just been one wild and crazy coincidence.
Dean drove me over here today, and while Dean and I were sitting in the car, I was sitting in shotgun, and I played it on my phone in the car with him. And I showed him a tweak I made, like, because if you the track I think that's on iTunes, there's like a cut about 45 seconds in, because there's like Mikey had it go up. He put like a little interlude between the kind of what I'd call the hook, and like it kind of goes up and then it goes back down. And like on TV, I don't have 4 seconds, Mikey. You got to go right back to it. And so the TV version, I think there's like a 4, but I love it so much, and it was just one of those things. One day, it was just the light bulb, and I was like, "This is what we need. This is what we need." The frogs. This is what the frogs.
Just real quick, when he called us into his office, like I said, I'd already heard it once because he hadn't made it there yet, and I loved it. But I'm trying to, like, again, all about visualization for me. Like, I'm a very visual guy, and so I have to like picture it, and I'm trying to picture it, and like he's playing it now, and Dave's in there, and Tony's just jamming the fuck out, dude. And it's like, okay, like, everybody's gonna be doing this, so like, just let's everybody just feel like Tony feels right now. Let's go and look at it. It's just been, and then if I just change.
Well, stop it right there.
Brian, help me. That conversation lasted longer than the sum total of all the other wrestlers I have heard talk about their entrance music in the last 40 years. Except if they were singing it. They were singing it, they went on for a while about it. Everybody at these things sounds like a bunch of fucking fans. The boys and the promoters did not talk like this to each other in private or out in public like this in my day. Everybody is thrilled with everything. Everybody is so, oh my God, I have music. Oh my God, I got an action figure. Oh my God, I'm on the show. I get to wrestle one of my heroes. What the fuck is going on?
And again,
I'm not knocking FTR either, but they're way too fucking happy about the fucking music.
And again, part of the issue is who's actually in the room, who is the wrestling media. And on that topic, let's go to another question here. This is to Tony solo by himself later in the night.
Who's Tony Solo now? Is he friends with Tony Khan?
No, this is Tony by himself.
Oh, that's funny. So you're saying he's having a romantic interlude.
Well, here is Tony Khan sitting at a table, innocently asked a question by Nick Hausman of Wrestling Inc. I want to say, the last time we played Media Scrum stuff, this guy was the only reporter in the room asking serious questions. So let's go to this one.
Hi, Tony. Nick Hausman, Wrestling Inc. How you doing?
Good, Nick. Thank you. I'm doing well. Thanks. It's great to. Hey, it's a hometown show for us.
I know, right? It's wonderful. I'm going to be home in 20 minutes. My question was about somebody the fans are still talking about that we haven't seen on AEW TV since his bombshell promo. That's MJF. Is MJF still with AEW? Like, what is his status with the company right now?
Especially after the great show we did, I'm not going to comment on it, but it's a fair question to ask, but I'm not going to cover that one right now. Thanks, Nick. Do you have another question you want to ask? Since I was sure. No, I didn't want you to waste up your question. Let me. Do you have it with a follow up, Nick? Sure, it's okay. What is it?
All right, let me stop right there for a second. So he still won't comment on the MJF thing. What do you think of that?
Here's the thing. There's always been, whenever someone has tried to really close up all the loopholes in the logic and make something really appear to be a shoot, the one thing that usually bites you in the ass is you either don't go away or don't go away for any length of time, that somehow this perpetrator of all these, alleged shoot incidents is still on the TV or allowed in the fucking building or whatever. That's not the case here, but the flip side is it could cool off, because there was a lot of buzz and a lot of talk when it happened. MJF was so hot and coming off the pay-per-view, will he or won't he? And he did, but then he did the promo, fire me, you fucking Mark, whatever. What's real, what's not. He really does feel that way, we think, but now possibly they're venting it on television. But now if there's not something, then I'm afraid it's going to start cooling off. And yes, whenever he shows back up, if he shows back up, the people will react, but I'm wondering if we're getting the timing right. Has it been long enough that it looks like a shoot and it's really something that happened, or is it been so long that the bloom is starting to come off of it? And then how does he reappear? And if it's in some way where he plausibly reappears to try to hijack the program or do some kind of unscheduled incident and fuck with Tony and or the company, then that's going to be great. But if he comes back because lawyer Mark Sterling got him an injunction or something, then I don't know.
Well, let's go back to this. I said that this guy last time asked the only serious questions. He did not get his MJF question answered here. Let's go to the follow-up.
Thanks. Thanks, Nick.
The other thing is I wanted to bring a little bit of the real world into this right now, another non-Forbidden Door question, but obviously on Friday there was a big Supreme Court ruling. A big topic of conversation is if employers are going to be paying for women under their employee to be going across state lines.
Now let me stop this for 1 second. At this point in the media scrum, the official AEW video feed of the media scrum, it appears that one of the security guards somehow took over the feed, or half of the feed. So half of the screen is Tony Khan drinking his non-alcoholic beer, and the other half is a security guard filming himself. It goes away rather quickly, but that's what you'll be hearing here at the noise.
If the situation does arise, is that something that you would be willing to do for female members of the roster or people that are under your employ?
Hasn't come up. I don't know. It's just, that situation hasn't come up. And honestly, since last Friday, we've been working on Forbidden Door almost nonstop. So that situation has never come up. So I can't say. But sorry not to answer either of your questions, Nick.
So fuck you, Nick.
Yeah, Nick, you're the only one asking serious questions. I'm not going to answer any of them.
Yeah, I won't answer any of your serious questions, but I will talk about the theme music all day long. And here you go, Mick. And Nick, here's a nice order of fish heads for you. Here's the thing. I believe that he should have answered that question. Tony should have, because I'm thinking already now this can be a benefit. For example, I'm in favor, I heard somebody say, because I'm in favor of retroactive abortions, and I heard somebody say that our little dog Pockets is about 35 years old. So I think instead of 6 weeks or third trimester or 18 weeks, I think we ought to have AEW legalize retroactive abortions up to 35 years.
Will you stop it?
And then
that's a horrible idea.
It would improve the television program and the talent roster immensely.
Well, you're being silly there, but on that topic, let's go to another question about music, and actually about someone you just brought up, Orange Cassidy. Tony loves talking music. Let's go to this.
Great.
Tony, I want to talk about Orange Cassidy tonight. Match of the year, potentially, with Will Ospreay. I'm a big Orange Cassidy guy.
What?
What was your reaction when that match was over?
Hold on. The reporter just said, you may not have heard it, you were laughing, I'm a big Orange Cassidy guy. This is the wrestling media.
Then he said match of the year candidate. Oh my God. Do they pay the reporters here to come into the room to be part of this? Or are they just marks that want to get to ask questions of their favorite wrestlers?
Match of the night to me. And reportedly, Orange Cassidy was supposed to get new theme music. I read somewhere today. We didn't hear that tonight. It's a huge part of the wrestler's package. Is that something that you decide on specifically, or is it something that you work with?
Yeah, I decide on the...
Let me stop right here. Tony looks away as this question is being asked, and he actually gets a little serious. And apparently the song in question, which Orange Cassidy used on the Indies, was Jefferson Starship's Jane. A disgrace to Marty Ballin and Paul Kantner.
Wait, what? Hold on.
Yeah.
He used Jane? Jane, you're playing a game of hide and go seek. Jane, you're playing a game that I play for keeps. Like a cat and a mouse from door to door and house to house. Don't you know what you're talking about? Jane! That song.
There's a reason the San Francisco sound died, ladies and gentlemen, and you just heard it.
What the fuck does that have to do with Orange Cassidy?
Maybe he's into 70s rock.
Oh, God damn it.
Well, maybe if they can't get that, they can get hot tuna.
This glorified fucking auto mechanic that ought to be in the fucking pit at the Jiffy Lube wants Tony Khan to pay now money to play him Jefferson Starship.
Well, that's not the story.
Okay.
The story apparently is that Tony is more than happy to do that. However, let me finish this question. Again, I told you, Tony got a little serious about this.
Uh-oh.
About this song in Orange Cassidy. Let's go to this.
Music, but that is this when I presented this song to him. So I picked a lot of the music and work with Mikey on who's going to have what songs. I license music from outside sometimes, and generally I'm in charge of the music with Mikey, who oversees it and does an amazing job and has composed some amazing themes. But I work hand in hand with him on that stuff. Just like we talked about when I had a concept for the FTR theme and they were in here, Samoa Joe's or even Adam Cole's. And Mikey's composed all these great themes. We have a good partnership going. And in this case, that's music that Orange Cassidy had used, the theme that is being rumored on the internet for a long time. It's also why, unfortunately, like, I love the people backstage, and like, you know what's cool? There were like, I was just talking about Brody. I didn't mean to keep going to it, but there were like 100 people sitting in the stands in Daly's place when Amanda told us Brody was sick. I know there's a lot of new people here since then, but there were a lot of people here. And a lot of them are the same people, even though there's a lot of new faces, and nobody said a word. So when it's something life or death, you can trust the people backstage. But I've learned that, like, around, like, a lot of stuff is leaked that, like, it's, like, really shameful. And, like, people shouldn't be doing it. And that's one of those ones where it, like, screwed up what would have been maybe a pop, but also which is still be a huge pop. I mean, these things are organic, so you can't make that not. It's going to be a huge pop if it happens. But like the fact that like it even came up is dumb. And like I said to Sean, which is like, I was like, okay, I mean, if you're going to report it, I was surprised to read it because I was like, I wonder why somebody leaked that, because like all it does is screw up a fun surprise for the fans. But it's like I told Sean, is I was like,
what the fuck? Just play the fucking music, you idiot. It's not like it needs to be a surprise. It's a fucking song. It's a song from 40 years ago that nobody really liked then, being used for a fucking mascot. He's worried about the fuck. Everybody on his roster talks smart in public, tells everybody that they love to work with their opponents and how they spent hours and hours going over their match to have a perfect one for the fans. But he's upset that somebody fucking spoiled the surprise on the Jefferson Starship? Is this what I'm hearing?
Yes, I believe so. I believe
yes.
He references a Sean. I'm assuming that's Sean Ross Sapp. I didn't see the initial tweet that reported this, but he saw that, and that this got leaked has really upset him. And changed his plans, apparently.
And changed his plans. So, no, we're not giving you Jefferson Starship. Who gave a shit to begin with?
Well, let's go back to the man who gives a shit, Tony Khan.
I understand it, 97.5% of the rights. But in this case, that's zero. I mean, like, I might as well have zero. Like, we're real close. I've been told by the 2.5% right holder that they're going to get back to us. And
2.5%.
It seems like it'll probably happen. But, like, the fact that I'm even having to explain this, I think is ridiculous. And it's because somebody in the back, like, shouldn't have said what they said. And then I like Sean, but I was surprised to see that. And I told him, and I was like, because it's not true, and I never even got a chance to refute it. And like, I know Orange said he was going to have something new, but technically that's not even something new. I think he meant the belt. So like, which he, came damn close to winning. And like I said, to the announcers, and they did a great job integrating. Orange Cassidy is one of our best, most marketable stars. He's whether people of all ages love him. And on digital, when you look at AEW most watched digital videos on the YouTube channel, like probably 6 or 7 out of the top 10 involve him. And he's also a really awesome person. So if it does happen, if we do get the 100%, I'll be really happy, because that's something he brought to the table before he was here. There's been, he's the AEW version of Orange Cassidy has really risen to prominence, and he was already a beloved independent star, but I think his presentation and what he's become here is very different. And I think people respect and understand that he really is a great pro wrestler under the
No, nobody respects
or
understands
that.
Tonight
he would tear the house down in Chicago like he did with Pac in his very first singles match, which we spent over 6 months. I think not quite 6 months. We were over 5 months of TV building to that, plus the pay-per-views before that. So
drink a bowl of Valium soup, Tony.
Cassidy.
Well, he loves Orange Cassidy, as we've always said.
It's ridiculous. Do we have any songs?
Well, we will get to songs. One last question from Tony, or for Tony. We'll play a little bit of this. I don't know how long we'll last. I'm trying to cue it up right now. But Tony was asked about his booking. Let's go to this.
Oh, boy.
So thanks for asking.
I get the honor of going last. All right. So you talking about Claudio earlier mentioned that when you had talked to Brian, you revealed to him that Claudio was already under contract. So that says to me that you already had kind of creative plans for Claudio that maybe got, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but that maybe got sidetracked a little bit.
Well, I did. I had two plans, and what I was saying was I called him the day after Punk got hurt, and Brian was optimistic that he would be back, but I wasn't 100% sure. So there were a couple ways this could have gone, but certainly the idea that he might be at Forbidden Door definitely it came up. But I think we were all hoping Brian was going to be here.
Okay. So I guess going more forward with my question, and talking about some of the challenges you've encountered with Forbidden Door, with Punk getting hurt, with Brian getting hurt, and just a lot of the creative changes that have had to take place. My question is more so about your overall booking philosophy and how much things may have changed over the last really year for you, in that one of the things that AEW was really known for in the beginning was kind of long-term booking, and that's something that was very much commended, whereas these days you almost circumstantially can't do a lot of that, and there's been a lot of we get more announcements of matches like the day of Dynamite, for example, that we didn't get back in the early days. We used to end a Dynamite kind of knowing every match that was going into the following week. Do you feel like your booking philosophy has had to change a lot in the last year or so with things that have gone on? And how do you feel you can sustain that going forward?
Yeah.
Let me just say, great question. Actually, an intelligent question there. Really great. Let's go to Tony.
I was about to say, let's hear the answer.
I think that's a really good question. And I think it changed a lot when we went back on tour. Partially, one of the reasons that you used to know everything going in was because we would tape it the next day. So that wasn't like weren't at, but I think to most of the people who'd be watching this, people might have had an idea. But during the pandemic, when we were in Daly's place, it was live on Wednesday, and then we were taped on Thursday. So it was a very different cadence and style. And then also Thursday, like I would have had 12 days to put everything together by the time the next show. So it was different, and it was really great. But what happened was the roster grew a lot in that time. We went back on the road. We continued to expand, and when we went back on the road, that's when I knew as soon as the fans were back, I'd been sitting on this opportunity that really CM Punk wanted to come back to wrestling and wrestle for AEW when the fans came back. It was just a matter of when we go back on the road. And then once that happened, he and I got really serious. And then all of a sudden, Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole were up, and that led to All Out 2021. It's crazy that at the end of the summer, it will be a year since that, but right now is a year that we've been back on the road this week. Blood and Guts represents about a year back on the road, almost exactly. And it's been challenging with all the injuries, but I still look to long-term solutions, long-term ideas, long-term thoughts. And if you look like Moxley and Tanahashi, even though it wasn't the original plan for the show, that's a long-term story that had been going for years. And I was thinking long-term when I didn't want to do Mox and Tanahashi last summer. It was looking ahead because I realized there was probably a bigger platform than the show where it was proposed to happen in the parking lot of USC's football stadium. And so I thought...
Let me stop it here for at least a second.
Please.
What are your overall... Instead of just destroying Tony, as you've done many times, any positives you hear of anything he's saying here?
I just don't... I can't take it. I can't stand it. It's just words on and on and on and on and on. Get to a point, make a statement, utter a declarative sentence. Use punctuation. It's all of them. They just feel like, okay, are they paying us by the fucking word? It's 2:00 in the morning. Does anybody want to be there? Answer the questions about your fucking match, sell your shit, and get the fuck out of there. Tony, sleep, son. Take a fucking nap.
Well, he's busy in the studio working on music, it seems like. How involved with music was Vince when you were there?
He would have certain things like a vibe he wanted, like with the Dude Love thing. He went crazy. We got to have the click track, whatever the fuck, right? But mostly, he would have Jim Johnson. He would just, give him a basic overview of the kind of vibe the guy had, what he was going to be, the basic gist of how he was going to be presented, and let them do their thing. I mean, I loved nothing better. Smoky Mountain Wrestling in OVW and to some extent Ring of Honor, although we couldn't just willy-nilly use all kinds of commercial music there, whereas we did in Smoky Mountain and OVW. I loved picking out music for guys, and I loved when guys would bring me music for themselves that fit what I wanted to do. But it was all commercial music. You couldn't play it, and we were paying absolutely nothing. Fuck you, I say, ASCAP. Statute of limitations, as they say, has run out. But I loved the commercial music made it. I never liked, every once in a while, Steve Austin's Glass Break and that whole thing, that was great. But I'm not knocking Jim Johnston, but I never liked, for the most part, just writing, especially instrumentals for guys. I liked the commercial music tie-in that really got people up and out of their seat. So, Vince was, he would make sure that they had music. And I've told the story. They didn't have Flash Funk, Too Cold Scorpio's music when he made his first dark match appearance, just so Vince could look at him. So I said, how about some Rick James? Went out to the car and got one of my cassette tapes. Here you go. And fucking, here comes Flash Funk to Love Gun. It was the best entrance he ever did because it was great music. I like Jim Johnson. He's a nice guy. And whoever this Mikey or whoever, Whipwreck, whoever the fuck Tony's talking about, but they ain't goddamn Mick Jagger or Lennon and McCartney or whatever the fuck, right? Hit music is hit music.